Are you recording? We're recording!
Yay!
Hello, you dirty potters. How are you today? This is Lindsay M. Dillon, and I'm sure you guys have seen her to some of my videos where I crush a lot of things and you guys get really unhappy.
I've started saving pieces so that the next time that we do a linked video, I will have my own material to smash as well.
I really want like people with like guns and bats and swords
Oh
to join me and just like go crazy ham on the pottery. But I thought it would be a good idea this time to actually formally introduce you guys, because she's just not somebody I hang around with. We actually met through art and our weird shared love of anime and trying to be adults at the same time. So why don't you tell them your story of how we met, because my brain doesn't work too well.
Oh my god, my brain doesn't work too well either. Okay, so in the hazy memory of my past, I remember my boyfriend suggesting that I talk to Donte because he was the only ceramics table at Sac Anime back in like 2013 or something like that.
When I was 5.
You was a children.
I was a children.
It's okay, I was a children then too. I just graduated from college and I was like, how I art? So at that time I was just like, alright, how do I, like, I have this degree, I have this passion for ceramics, how do I make a business out of it? And Donte was, like, at that time the only like kind of reference that I had, and also someone that was nerdy like me, and I was just like, maybe I can ask this guy for some advice.
Of course, yeah. I think your boyfriend came up to me and was like, my girlfriend knows about you. And I was like, that's a weird statement for you to say. That's strange. And he was like, no, she seriously told me, like, if you see this guy to like, and he gave me information, but it wasn't like coherent in my brain. I was like, this is the 15th card I had today, so I have no idea what to do with this card. Sooner or later, I ended up actually meeting you, and you were actually one of the winners of the trophies. Future Donte, can you put a trophy on screen, please? He'll do it.
I believe it.
You were one of the winners of the trophies that I had made through the Blue Line art, and I didn't understand. I think I had a whole channel update on it, a whole channel update video. I didn't understand how big it was until I got there, and I was like, oh, I'm wearing anime clothes to this.
If it makes you feel any better, I had some sense because my mom had won the Arts Educator of the Year award.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Arts Educator of the Year.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
For my mom, not for me.
Right.
Yeah, but that was like the year before, so it's like I kind of knew, but it had sort of fallen off my radar, and then when I found out that I had been nominated as one of like the 3 potential winners, I was like, oh, okay, and then I was like, oh,
you got there, and you're
I got
like,
where?
There's cold brew on tap here.
Yeah.
Can we show one of your cups?
Yeah. Let me see. I will grab.
So I think a lot of you guys know from my first Fanime thing, I made some nerdy cups, but she very much makes the same thing. So this is one of the cups that she makes, and this is one of your dragon cups?
Yes.
Is it dragon egg cups or dragon cups?
Dragon egg cups.
Dragon egg cups.
Yes.
And it's supposed to look like a dragon's egg. I like it. It reminds me very much of Game of Thrones. Let me see if I can actually show them. This is pretty much what it looks like, and it's very intricate. I think you slip cast all these little scales right here, right?
I had a press mold, so I had essentially a tiny little square of plaster that I carved kind of like an almond scale shape into.
Right.
And then I took a little ball of clay, smashed it in there, and then scored and slipped every single piece on.
That makes sense.
Each piece took about an episode and a half of Supernatural to watch.
And this is so labor intensive right here. This takes about 4 hours, you had told me?
Adding the scales takes about 2.5 hours. The whole thing, start to finish, including glazing, is about 4 hours. Of course, that's not including time in the kiln, because that takes a lot longer. But yeah, the whole cup, start to finish, is about 4 hours of work. Okay.
She has a much nicer kiln. I think mine's a little bigger, but yours is like new.
It's so shiny. I was just like, I love new and shiny things.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Especially when you're new in ceramics, you're like, shiny glaze.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, that's true. Folks do tend to like shiny.
They love shiny glaze.
Glazes.
Well,
Yeah.
we're, especially as ceramicists, we get into a field of like, we get tired of shiny, and then we figure out shiny is really easy actually. The hard thing is making sure it's not shiny and making sure it's more intricate and it has kind of a soul to it. But people only care about that like superfluous form of like, oh, top layer, shiny. But we want the iceberg goes deeper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Way deeper than that.
Yeah.
But how did you get started as far as, like, who's your teacher?
So it's been a couple different people over the years.
Okay.
Since I graduated from UC Santa Cruz in 2013, Mark Boguski has been kind of my main mentor, and he's one of the professors of ceramics over at Sacramento City College.
Right.
And I started taking classes there or ceramics classes there as continuing education. And I had taken ceramics before. I can tell my origin story in a second, but I'll finish your question about the mentor.
For sure.
But,
you're gonna get full treatment here.
Oh, yes. So I started taking some ceramics classes as a continuing education after I got my degree at UC Santa Cruz.
Right.
And I took as many classes as I could, did the independent study, and then over that time I'd gotten to know Mark, I'd gotten to know a couple of the other professors. I would have critique sessions with them. I got to learn a little bit about kind of the back end, like studio part of like running a ceramic studio.
Yeah.
And then after about a year and a half of taking classes, I started volunteering there, and I've been volunteering there for about 3 years now.
That's how you learn how to teach. I volunteered for a good 3 years at Yoshio's studio, and it really cemented the fact that you can't just be good at art and then be like, this is how you art, and then show people how you art. You really have to be able to explain it on a really, really childlike level. You can't just like, oh yeah, pull the wall. You have to explain
It's like,
what pulling is.
where do I put my fingers?
Right, you say pull the wall, and they're like this. You're like, no, the word pulling doesn't act.
It doesn't actually mean pulling.
It doesn't mean pulling at all.
Shit.
Yeah, and then you have to explain that to a person that's never heard of cutting up and down, pulling. Viscosity is a giant thing in ceramic artwork that we haven't even gone over yet. The leather stages is a whole different thing. But I feel like a lot of potters, especially the ones that don't know how to teach, just say these terms and then never explain them. And I feel like volunteering at your local, even if it's a community college one, volunteering there really helps that process go along if you plan to ever be a teacher in the art world. I got really lucky because my teacher treated me like I was dumb because I am dumb. So I got real lucky. And the cool thing about critique classes, like you were talking about as well, is that the better you get, the more they critique your stuff.
Yeah.
So as a beginner, they're like, this is good for a beginner. This is very nice. And then when you get into intermediate, they're like, this is good, but you could have totally done better. You get to advanced, and you make this gorgeous vase, and they're like, this is garbage! This is why I trained you for this shit!
Oh my god, I think Mark was a little bit easier on me. I would almost, in some ways, like, it's better to have that than just like the silent stare with the raised eyebrow.
Yeah.
I won't say who I've gotten that from, but I've gotten that before, and I'm just like, oh no.
Plenty of teachers.
What have I done?
Yeah. And then they like passively aggressively like, this is okay, and they put it down, and you're like,
oh my god,
just tell me what I did wrong.
No, I never want to be that mentor, but sometimes I have trouble, like, again, like, as volunteering, I do both, like, back-end work, like, fixing glazes, loading, unloading kilns, but I also do work with students.
Yeah.
And I always feel so bad when, like, I haven't quite learned how to articulate some of those things about, like, this is how you do this, like, this is what you could have done better, and, like, I'm always afraid of being that person who's just like, this is good. And then walks away. I'm just like, oh, no, I never want to be that. But I gotta learn how to, like, articulate that.
I'm having the same trouble because I'm super non-passive aggressive. I'm super blunt with everything I say. I say exactly what I think, and usually if somebody disagrees with me, I have proof, and if they have sources that go against that proof, I'm like, okay, you win. And then I just, like, reform the way I think after that. But...
novel concept.
Exactly. But some people only talk in the form of passive aggression. Like, they can only talk in that, like, someone should take out the garbage! Instead of being like, dude, take out the garbage, it's full, if you see it, take it out. End of story. And some people, it's weird because I'm slowly learning that I have to sometimes be passive in order for some people to get what I mean versus just saying it, because they would much rather it be said passively and for it to be a little bit more polite than to have it blunt and rude. And it's a weird, because I'm very much an earthbender. I'm very much just like, this is what I said, and you didn't do it. I don't know what to tell you, but some people are real good at it.
See, I just sit, like if I want my boyfriend to take out the trash, I just like sit on his desk and meow at him until he does things.
I do the same thing. It does not work with my girlfriend. I'm like, I need attention. She's like, go get it then. So you work at the Cone 5-6 oxidation?
Yes.
Okay.
So the reason that this is speckled is it's a clay that I was using for a little while called Speckled Buff.
Right.
Yeah, I ended up moving away from it recently because every time I make a piece, exactly, except you gotta grind that hole down, Donte. I pretty much work exclusively with B-Mix with grog. And the reason I do B-Mix with grog is because one of my favorite glazes, which is weathered bronze, of which an example I have right here. I love it.
Oh, that's nice.
Right? But sometimes it gets a little weird when it's just the, when it's the B-Mix. Sometimes I get like weird cracking, and so I'm just like, meh, B-Mix with grog, it's not that different.
Yeah, it just has a better chance of sticking together. B-Mix is, Yoshio calls B-Mix like the poor man's porcelain. And I'm like, that makes sense, but I don't want to call it that. Interesting story about B-Mix. B-Mix is actually named after the last name of the guy who made it, and I forgot his first name, but his last name is not B. His last name is Butt, and it is definitely spelled B-U-T-T.
No way.
Yes, but
I don't believe it.
You can look it up, I swear. Stop the video right now and look it up. But his producer, or whoever represents him, was like, we cannot sell butt mix. We cannot sell butt mix.
Please sell butt mix to future time travelers if you can. Go back. We need butt mix.
If you see this video, Mr. Butt, sell butt mix. I thought it was a joke when they told me, but I asked like the person at Alpha, and I was the person at Amico, and I looked his name up, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy's last name is Butt. This is the lowest brow channel.
I'm so okay with that.
I cannot tell you how many butt jokes I've made.
Well, pretty much any time you try and like I especially again going back to volunteering with students, I have to like turn that part of my brain off.
Yes.
So I'm just like, you just stick your finger in the hole and then spread it slowly.
When you're pulling, if you're a guy and you're pulling handles, it looks so weird. Okay, all right.
I came here for not for yaoi, man. Come on,
I'm sorry.
It together. No.
I'm so sorry. So you do cups and everything. You do cups and bowls. You're trained at the normal basis, but you also do sculpture. And one of the sculptures that really sticks out in my head, I don't see it here, and I don't know if you have it, is that bird with that steampunk.
It's in a box.
Can we?
Yes.
Can we see it?
Yes.
Oh!
Let me take it down.
It's,
oh my goodness.
It's so big.
So funny story.
Yeah.
Apparently it is hot enough in here that it melted the epoxy.
What?
Yeah, because I just started to lift this up and
do not lift it out if you don't want. No.
I'm not gonna lift it out.
Don't lift it out.
But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tilt it.
So you guys might not be able to see it very well, but this I'll put a still up over here for you guys so you can see it up close and personal, because it looked way better in the gallery at Blue Line Arts. But this is the most impressive sculpture I've most likely seen. And as soon as I saw this in the Blue Line Arts competition, I was like, well, that clearly won. So you've already told me a couple of your favorite glazes, but can you what are your top 5 glazes? Because I know every potter knows the Ron Roy. Everybody knows the Jeff. Everybody knows the Marcia Celso Uribe. But what are your, bought or not, what are your favorite glazes? Let me get like 4 of your favorite glazes.
Okay.
And why?
Okay. All right. Well, first of all,
it's for potters. This is mainly for potters and sculptors.
Okay,
painters are like, I like blue.
What's this thing? No, there's like 5 different kinds of blue for painters. Painters would be like, let me give you a list of like 16 different blues.
I shouldn't speak on it. I don't fucking know about it.
Yeah, I know one painter, and she's like, it's not Prussian blue. It's not right. Anyway.
It's something that I've always, when I was little, I was like, that's red. And they're like, no, it's passion red. And I'm like, man, that's red. But now that I'm an artist, people are like, that's blue. And I'm like, it's floating blue.
Floating blue, right? Get it together. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to out myself and say that I am actually not that familiar with the glazes that you just listed, so
that's fine.
I've got some homework to do.
I think it's more for potters that make their own glazes know these names.
Oh, okay.
But if you buy, like when you go to Amco, the company Amco, and you buy a Celadon glaze, potters who make their own glazes are like, nope, Celadons are very clear, very glossy, and very green. But Amico totally sells a blue Celadon. But for most potters who know the history behind the name of Celadon, where it comes from, they're like, you can't make Celadon blue. It doesn't come in blue. But Amico realizes that most new potters will identify that as, oh, that must have this kind of texture, this kind of look to it, this kind of gloss to it, but it's blue, and that's how they make their money. They're selling to potters who don't know the full history or are just compromising to get a certain aesthetic along with that blue instead of just the aesthetic with the green. So don't feel bad at all for buying glazes.
Yeah.
I bought glazes for like 2 years before I figured out how to make them.
Yeah, I don't formulate my own glazes, but through my volunteering at Sac City College, I make all of the glazes that we have there. And we have, frankly, too many glazes. Like, I think we have...
You guys got like 13
or 14 different glazes. We have a lot of glazes.
I've seen it. It's a lot.
Yeah, so many combinations. Like, I feel kind of bad for beginning students who are just like, I have so many choices. You know?
Yoshio splits them up. Yoshio goes, this is for brown clay, and this is for white clay. And there's always that one student that's like, I'm going to put brown one on the white. I'm going to put the brown one glaze on the white clay. And you're like, don't. And
stop.
They have to get really lucky, or they figure it out real fast why they shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Anyway, so, favorite glazes.
I'm sorry.
No. I was just trying to remember because I think that's what we were, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, alright. So weathered bronze is definitely my favorite. That's the one one of the ones that I showed you earlier.
Right, the green one.
Yeah, the green one.
Okay.
My second favorite is probably, it's actually, where is it?
You guys can't see it, but she has a whole shelf of artwork right next to us.
It's pretty great. Ugh, dang it, you know what? I can't remember the glazed name right now, but it's, Amico produces it's called Gold Luster. That's what it is. It's
that one.
Yes.
Yeah, it turns like red and yellow.
Yeah.
I know that one. That one's good.
Yeah.
It's not an actual gold luster.
Yeah.
It is called Gold Luster, but again, that's probably a company trying to go like, look at our gold luster.
It's a luster. It's not luster. It's more like if Gold Luster and like pewter had a baby.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's kind of one of the things that is nice to know, because like one of the things that like for me, like I've been working on in the last year is figuring out that balance between like, okay, I want to make this a business. I want to, make more time for making sculptures, but I also want to figure out, okay, like if I just kind of need the bread and butter items, what's going to sell well? And I think that's kind of what's cool about what we get to do is we get to walk that line between, okay, how do we make a living as an artist, and then how do we pursue those projects that maybe aren't necessarily going to be the money makers, but are really, really drive us and we're passionate about.
I get that question so often. I at least get it like 5 times every month. People are like, how do I know when I'm going to sell my work? And once I sell my work, how do I make sure I don't get stuck in that rut of just selling this one thing because it sells the best? Supply versus demand. Because then if you sell that one thing that sells the best, you're going to end up making cartoon cups for the rest of your life. There's so many Instagram pages that are like, I make bowls. And you're like, what else do you make? And they're like, I make bowls with cartoons on them.
Very nice bowls.
I make very nice bowls for the past 20 years. My name's Wacky Arm and Flailing Tube Man, and come on down and get your bowls.
That being said, there is still a place for that.
There's definitely a place for it. It's just we're in a special place, and it's very good because it's synergistic. It's very like, I make bowls so I can make better bowls because so I can make more bowls.
Yeah.
So I can make, and it's you just replace the word bowls with like cups or sculptures. You can make bowls to sell so that you can really work on what you want to work on, so that you can sell so you can work on what you want to work on. And the middle point is, sadly, it's money, but it's money and support. But it's, if you have enough of those two things, you can do whatever you want as an artist. And that's exactly how a lot of people survived. Galileo, they're like, paint it, and he was like, no. And they're like, paint it, and he was like, no. And the church was like, we're gonna pay you a lot of money or you die. And he was like, okay.
Va bene.
I'll paint it, but I'm gonna draw a dick up here.
Okay. Oh my god, it's like Michelangelo drawing like all the naked like men on the Sistine Chapel, and then they had the church had to hire another artist to come in and paint like these really fluid like silk like garments over the genitalia, which is kind of a bummer.
And then like there was one priest he really, really hated, and he ended up, I'm gonna post a link to that video down below so I have some proof of this. But
I heard about this, yes!
Basically, like, the priest was so mean to him that he drew him at the very bottom of the Sistine Chapel. He drew a snake biting off his genitalia, and when the priest went to the Pope and was like, look at what he draw, the Pope was like, you're kind of a dick. You're kind of mean to him.
I didn't know that part of the story.
Yep, he was like, and so they just left it. It's still there.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So what is your, I think I've already released my origin story, telling people like how I got started and the heartbreaking process of how that works, but what's your origin story? Like, how did you get into this? Because I think everyone has a good story of how they caught what I'm going to call the clay bug, and everyone has like either I went for it or like it just happened, son. So please tell me how that happened.
It is definitely the latter of those two situations.
Yeah.
So I was in my junior year of high school, and I had the absolute pleasure of getting mono, and that was just so much fun.
Oh.
I was out of school for 2 weeks, and I had been taking a pre-calculus class that was just also a lot of fun.
Right.
And but after 2 weeks of missing school, and then the rest of the semester just like trying to salvage my grade, I was like, all right, this isn't gonna work. I'm just gonna take the end of the semester with a C and move on to something else. So I had an open space in my schedule, and I had a couple friends that were in a ceramics class. Now I had like art had sort of been around my family for like most of my life. Like we grew up with like having an art drawer, but nothing had ever really like clung to me the way that working with clay did.
Right, your mother got the same award that you had received for influential artist. But like before you?
She was a performing artist. So my mom was a children's recording artist and entertainer for like 20 years.
Right.
And then just in general, I have musicians and like a bunch of, mostly I guess musical arts in my family.
You have an art family.
Pretty much.
That's cool.
Yeah, but nobody had worked with clay. So that was definitely new, but I basically went from like, all right, I'm gonna study like cultural anthropology or history to being like, I want a degree in art and I want to study ceramics. And that was an interesting transition to make, because then you realize like, oh man, people have a whole set of associations with when you say you want to be an artist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna be an artist when I grow up, so you wanna be poor, huh?
Oh god. You never know what's gonna happen. Life is full of exciting surprises.
Started getting mono, now we're here.
11 years later.
Okay, now I think I would love to see you, whether you want to sculpt or throw, I will leave it completely up to you.
Okay.
I just want to see you now doing your artwork.
Okay.
So let's go. I'm just gonna videotape you, do whatever you want.
Okay, sounds good. I'm gonna do this thing.
Well, thank you very much for meeting us and letting us watch you throw. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
No.
I'm honored to be here, and I'm really excited. So.
Well, this is part of my first thing. I'm trying to get people more aware of other artists, especially within my area. So I really, really appreciate you letting us interview you. Thank you for telling us your stories. If you guys want to see any of Lindsey's stuff, I will post the links down below, especially to her Instagram and her Facebook, so you can see more of her beautiful art. I will post those down below for your beautiful Potter eyes to see. And of course, the links for my artwork are always down below. And I will see you, Dirty Potters, next week. Bye, Lindsey.
Bye.
For letting us watch you throw. Oh, I mean, okay. Yeah. Are you sure you wanna?
Oh shit, you're burned!
It hurts so bad!
Sorry, I totally forgot.
No, you're
fine. I'm sorry. I was just like, let me get your hand hella dirty with mud, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm a terrible person.